So, we're going to be talking about genetic trauma, and we're going to get into actually one specific one, which is based on separation. So, welcome. I'm Camson, the Oracle. If you're watching me, that must mean that you have an interest in finding out how you can overcome the what we call generational curses. And you're tired of wasting time. You want to get straight to it, and you want to work on exactly what you need to work on that's going to best suit you. So, we're going to talk about the characteristics of this trauma, and this specific one will be suppression. We will also go over the trauma of denial, the trauma of shame, the trauma of rejection, the trauma of guilt, and the trauma of separation, which is where I'm going to begin. Now, this specific type of genetic trauma is encoded in your natal chart and in your subconscious mind. It's based on the placement of Mars. In the Human Design, you will see this on the left side written in red, and this is going to reflect the subconscious mind and the programming that has been passed down in your genetics. Now, these types of genetic traumas, as I went through all 6 of them, can vary in different ways and bring different characteristics into your life. Actually can bring different strengths into your life, because guess what? I've been saying this for a while, and this was the secret that really helped me to have profound transformation, which was all trauma is meant to be your triumph. It's meant to help you. It's meant to be your superpower. Yeah, we're not over here working on trauma and you're just forever stuck working on trauma and never feeling like you're overcoming anything. So we're going to talk about some of the aspects of this, because if you can't get into what can I do to turn this shadow into my supernatural power, to my spiritual power, to me, you're just going to constantly be chasing ways to fix and resolve and heal something, but you're kind of shooting in a bucket. You really don't have a clear foresight about your specific journey and path. So I'm going to get into some of these and some of the ways that it shows up in our life. And these realizations may or may not resonate with you. Some of them may resonate more than others, but you can be certain that if you are someone who is on the journey of self-mastery, being able to decipher these types of genetic traumas are going to help you in your relationships, in your business, in every aspect of your life. So I went over the 6 types of genetic trauma in the beginning of this introduction. Now I want to explore with you the reason that I feel this is most important. Out of everything else that I've done in a while, this has been most important. So the genetic trauma of suppression, it is one of the most ancient, primitive forms of trauma. This is the fear of the elements. This is fear from wild animals' past lives embedded within us. Now, on certain levels of consciousness, this can be expressed, repressed, or it could actually have a more aggressive side. So our experiences with our parents, our teachers, it imprints on us. And out of fear, we may be repressed by others to try to not be abandoned. And this is a self-protection mechanism. And very few people willingly look into the source of their suffering. So I want to commend you for being here, because I try to figure out a way to make people want to do this, because I know this will improve people's quality of life. But it does take courage to look into the mirror. And this is shadow work on steroids. This is where you will absolutely find your power. So with this trauma of separation, we oftentimes first have this experience in birth. And sometimes we will try to repress it as we get older. But if you think about it, we're stripped away from our mothers as soon as we're born. In hospitals with bright lights, we're smacked on the butt, stuck with needles. I mean, so many things, and that's traumatic in itself. So one way to work with this trauma of separation is just being honest about the fact that you have went through something that was traumatic. Honesty is something, it's difficult because it's powerful when you can accept these things. This is what's required of you to heal the trauma of separation. to be able to allow yourself to look deep inside of yourself, deep inside of your shadows, to allow yourself to see those feelings and watch them as you go throughout life as the observer versus the reactor who's having the experience. Now, in these types of genetic trauma, oftentimes it also creates what type of partner we attract, which was something that was really interesting. And right now, we are healing a lot of these ancient traumas. So from primitive times in our lives, we're healing these. And as a collective, we are healing all of these traumas. So this could be, again, starting in childhood, being separate from your parents. For those of us who are Gen Xers, a lot of times we were latchkey kids. We came home to an empty house. We learned how to make our own food. Maybe we walked home from school. We were actually very independent if you think about it. So with this specific trauma, the origins that, as we discussed, began from leaving the womb space. And our typical response to suffering is to shut ourselves off, go into hermit phase, disconnect from our own emotions, and even disconnect from other people around us to help us to cope with this internal sensitivity that we feel to separation. Throughout your life, you are destined to confront the trauma of suppression. Just remember not to perceive it as a personal failing. It is just a part of your nature that you have absorbed. So simply observe it. Within the trauma of suppression lies a strong potential for profound transformation on which will affect future generations. So this is not just about you. And again, the approach to healing this specific trauma is raw honesty, self-honesty. And it can sometimes be the most challenging thing to do with yourself and with others. All that is required is for you to allow this process to unfold, permitting yourself to delve deeper into your innermost self and the wounds that are held within the shadows, acknowledging the emotions that have been a constant presence in your life, changing what you manifest. It's important to recognize these emotions and understand that they cannot harm you. It feels that way in the moment, but they cannot. And within yourself, you can carry the collective feelings of humanity, reflecting the same fear that motivated our ancestors and continues to govern the world today. The trauma of suppression resonates with a lot of us. But if Mars is activated in your first line, it is genetic for you. And in most cases, you endure suffering internally, withholding it instead of expressing it outwardly. Not only do you refrain from discussing it, but you also may cling to this. Consequently, individuals with first-line trauma commonly find it challenging to express their emotions or identify how they're really feeling. They feel estranged from their surroundings. They feel like they don't fit into the world. They frequently believe that there is something wrong with them. And this dynamic epitomizes this interplay of victim and persecutor, feeling either repressed or like they need to repress something or someone else. And each time you feel aggrieved and maybe you're inclined to try to protect yourself, you may assign blame instead of being honest and candid. The goal is to examine how you're feeling. In such situations, the way that you perpetuate this self-suppression by repeatedly engaging in ego-based maladaptive behaviors to protect yourself. The favorite pattern of the trauma of suppression arising in your life is to seek out a person or a circumstance that severely constrains you. Ultimately, this can lead to unhappiness that you can't put your finger on. And with the hope of eventually breaking free from all constraints and experiencing the pleasure of being liberated from this can come from doing this work. However, it tends to be followed by finding yourself in another situation that's full of more self-suppression, even relationships where your partner maybe suppress you. The deeper understanding of the underlying dynamics at play within the trauma of suppression, providing opportunities for growth and transformation, on and on. This is a very profound level of self-mastery to discover this. And again, healing for this trauma begins with honesty, and it is so crucial. Suppression is an absolute illusion, and though it may appear as a solid reality, if it is your native trauma, this is just a hologram. You want to refrain from judging yourself and just recognize when it shows up in your life. Allow it to unfold while maintaining awareness. Access life more candidly and gauge how content you are as you go through this process. Learning to coexist with the answers to these inquiries will actually make a pivotal moment in your journey. Beyond this trauma, an abundance of creativity and boundless ability to be innovative lie dormant within you. The gate of Mars from the human design side actually illuminates where your creative nature can flourish. So it's imperative not to suppress your talents. Embrace your creative potential and allow it to flourish without inhibition. You don't have to feel suppressed. So this trauma is something that I feel like a lot of us are going through, and those of us who are parents, maybe our children are going through this as well. The mysteries behind genetic trauma are still unfolding, but I wanted to introduce you to these 6 types of traumas, because at the root of every issue that causes human suffering, I have found these traumas to be the reason. So if you want to go deeper and get clarification as to specifically what can help you, something that's tailored for you to give you guidance on how to reach your fullest potential and align with your authentic path, I invite you to book a Human Design Akashic Record reading with me. And in this reading, I'm going to go into detail about every aspect of life, from where to eat, what to eat, when to eat, how to build relationships, which partnerships are best for you, how to make career choices or maybe even career changes. Who are you more compatible with? What are the subconscious messages behind some of the things that you notice to be patterns in your life? It's really no limit to what you can do once you have the book for your life. And in the Akashic Record Human Design reading, I will also get into some of the potentials that you could reach by working with your chakra centers. Everybody's chakra centers are not exactly the same. And this was something that really helped me to understand, because I was trying to apply what I was reading, and sometimes it just was not helpful and it wasn't effective. And I couldn't figure out why. And I realized some chakra centers are defined and some are undefined. And what does that mean? How do you make an impression on other people? Or do other people in the world make impressions on you? If you're a hypersensitive person, if you're noticing that you're more empathic than you thought you were, if you are overcoming childhood conditioning, religious trauma, trauma from just existing in this world as a unique human being who knows that you are here to find your authentic path. This is absolutely going to be what will actually get you through some of those roadblocks and obstacles and challenges that seem to be immovable otherwise. So the invitation is there. I will put the link in the description, and I will continue to go through this series and explain these different types of traumas. Be sure to leave a comment and let me know, is some of this speaking to you? Do you feel like maybe you have the trauma of suppression, or maybe your partner? This is really good to know. And very soon, I'm also going to do partner readings. But first, I want to focus on you, because it's a lot of focus on external situations, people, places, and things right now. And it's kind of a trend. But focusing on you and having 100 pages of information to download just about you is nothing that you will not be able to accomplish once you have the information that's specific to you. Namaste, namaste.